Pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum.
Hola, this is your Willie, not CM Punk. Welcome to another classic modern film review. Originally, I was gonna do another review that would lead up to the Mockingjay movies, but I decided to move them for another day, and instead I'm gonna be discussing on French movies. I'm not gonna arrange them in themes or in genres. These are just movies that I haven't seen yet that came out of France, but I got the interest of checking them out and giving my thoughts on them. And this is a way to show my support for France for what they're going through. And hopefully this doesn't come out in bad taste, and hopefully you can enjoy it. So for this French classic review, The 400 Blows. Looking at the ratings before I saw it, I knew this was going to be good, but I had no idea this received a huge positive feedback at its release. The director of this film, François Truffaut, known as the man who loved cinema, made his debut when his film, The 400 Blows, was released in 1959, making it his greatest achievement. This film has been considered by many as one of the greatest French films of all time. It would go on winning numerous awards in Europe that even in the US would acknowledge it for Best Screenplay, which would not win. But what is it about this film that got attention from so many? What is it about this film that still brings people to it? Well, let's look at it. The film is about a kid from Paris, played by Jean-Pierre Lude, who gets into a lot of trouble in school, at home, because of the hard conditions in those environments. Then he decides to leave his home to start living as an adult life. That is in his definition, thefts and smaller crimes. As simple as the story sounds or even remotes any interest at first sight, it is a deeply emotional journey of the experience of this kid. He is a rotten brat, but there is a good explanation for his way of behavior. He lives in a poor home with a mother who doesn't love him and a very strict stepfather. He doesn't care about school, but he enjoys literature. He has to put up with the yelling rules of his teacher that make him rebel even more.
Tout le temps. Non, de temps en temps, quoi. Des fois, je leur dirais des choses qui seraient la vérité, ils me croiraient pas, alors je préfère dire des mensonges.
He lies, he steals, he skips school, and goes back home days later. These actions will make anybody hate this kid, but just how they show his struggle at home, from his parents getting into heated arguments to his teacher punishing him, makes us feel sympathy for him. And when he's paying the price of his crimes, you can't help but to feel sorry for him, because they managed to make us feel like we're experiencing everything through his eyes. You can feel like you're there in the cage with him and running out of breath. What's ironic about this director and this movie is that he tells the story of the protagonist kid through his childhood experience. The 400 Blows is based on the director's childhood and what he went through from almost everything in the movie. His hard relationship with his mother and stepfather, just like in the movie. His troubles in school and with teachers, just like in the movie. Being interested in literature, stealing typewriters, and going to prison are all based on the director's life. It was very interesting to find out that his movies are mostly about his life experience that he presents in the big screen. This style of directing can actually work very good because they know what to show. They got it in their head already. They don't need most of the time the script. This film works because of his passionate desire to expose how kids in France used to live, and in modern age, how can it affect a child's behavior and how they view the world. In most low-income families, kids have no time to live a childhood. They have to work hard from a young age to become men, and it can be tragic at times. A poor environment, plus plenty of yelling and abuse at home and school at a young age, can make anyone feel as an outsider, as someone who doesn't belong in his system of rules and has the tendency to rebel and do what's out of the norm. And I guess this is why it clicked for so many people in France at that time. Maybe this movie is considered as one of the great ones because it's about a timeline that discusses a social issue that not only was presented in that time, but it's also presented in our lifetime. Maybe it hit so many in France when it first came out in theaters and got them thinking, hey, that's me, that's what I went through in my childhood. Maybe many of the adults that might have lived through the abuse and bullying at a young age could have been moved by this film because it was speaking for them. Could that be the reason why it was so successful? I don't know. I wasn't there, but just how life was, especially for a kid in those days, might be the reason why The 400 Blows was a very successful movie. Not to mention, it also helped the music, the acting, and the camera movements, which in here are very good. The cinematography is one of the best. From the opening to the shots of London, the middles where you could see the big buildings and the people, to the ending with the kid running to the beach wondering what is next for his journey in life. The 400 Blows is a deserving recommendation to look at why these great movies still lived up through the age of time and what makes them great to begin with. The irony the director put into this film with his experience made it as one of the best French movies of all time. It speaks for the coming generation of the tragedy of a child not being given the chance to live and make memories from their innocence. I give it 9 out of 10 stars. So those were my thoughts of this French classic movie. Next time, I'll be giving my thoughts of a much modern French movie. So for now, be safe out there, and that's it for today. Ciao.